You're listening to Boomers Today with your host, Frank Sampson.
Wow, welcome to Boomers Today. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. Of course, each week we bring you important and useful information on issues facing baby boomers, their parents, and other loved ones. And I just can't thank everybody enough for all their support. You know, we don't even promote the show of Boomers Today, but our audience keeps growing every day because it's all because of you. You're sharing our podcast with friends, family, etc. So thank you for doing that. And for those of you that don't know, you might be listening to our show either on our website, Boomers Today Radio, but of course, a lot of different ways to listen to it. We have our own podcast, our own app on the iPhone or Android phone. It's just called Boomers Today. You could just download it for free. Certainly, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, and a number of different stations on the internet. So, again, I just want to thank you for all your support. And I think that I know that you're sharing this information because we have some great guests on our show, a lot of great guests, and providing some wonderful information. And today is no different. We have with us today Julie Sursok. Is an inspiring breakthrough author of the best-selling book, I'm Now Called a Senior WTF. She'll tell us what WTF means. Julie is a senior herself. She has run her own successful businesses, performed on stage and television, and is an award-winning recording artist. Julie emigrated from South Africa to Australia, mastering the challenges of losing everything to rise back up again. And now with laughter, humility, and life experience, she is passionately inspiring seniors to stand tall and feel relevant again. And I have to say, Julie, I have interviewed people outside the U.S., based outside the U.S., but this is the first time I'm interviewing somebody who is actually on a different day than I am. So this is a first. So, but welcome to Boomers Today, Julie. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Frank. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Yes, I'm quite proud of myself that I get the days and the times right, actually. Because I am a senior, so it could have been very weird.
Yeah, I know. And I just kind of go onto my phone and look to see what time it was by you. And
yes.
Yeah, so that's great. That's great. So first of all, congratulations on your book. That's wonderful. I've written a book myself, so I know how much work goes into it. And so I congratulate you with that. Maybe you could tell us just a little bit more about your background and how that kind of led into, you writing the book, the process. I mean, I know a lot goes into it. So why don't you share with us a little more?
Of course. Well, as you can hear, I've got a bit of a hybrid accent. So I was born in Australia. I'm not in Australia. I was born in South Africa. Wonderful life there. Had my own business. I was involved in the entertainment industry, married with children, and life was ticking along, very well and comfortably. But things started to change. One day, we arrived home to find that we'd had a home invasion, and the leads were hanging out from where the television set should be, with no TV set. Everything was taken out of the home. I had somebody calling me saying, "Oh, Julie, you look great today. I loved your red dress." And I'm thinking, where did I wear a red dress? Was it in a supermarket or where was it? But somebody had been watching me, and then somebody was attacked at the end of our driveway. And my husband and I said, it's time to go. Despite the fact that we're comfortable, we actually just didn't feel safe. So Australia welcomed us, and we off we went with 2 children, 4 suitcases, and potential. But when you arrive, but you had to leave it all behind, and it was hard. Much as Australia is very similar to South Africa in many ways, there are obviously different customs in different countries. You'd be invited for tea, but tea is dinner. So you would invite people for tea thinking you were going to give them cucumber sandwiches, and it was actually lamb chops, type of thing. And I, we'd been very spoiled in South Africa. So, or the washing turned olive green because I wasn't really aware that you had to separate it all. And we were just, from having it all, we said, we'd sort of lost it all. But we decided to move up to Brisbane. We all sprung a leak because it was very, very hot there. And we just weren't happy. And I said to my husband, go back to Sydney, go find your sunshine, and let's see where we can go from here. We were entrepreneurs, but, we were in a new country, and how do you start again? So we came back to, he came back to Sydney, stayed in a boarding house, and he flicked through a magazine. And in that magazine, he saw an article on somebody who actually had this similar business to what we had in South Africa. So he walked in to the company and he said, listen, don't pay me anything. Just I'll work on commission, and let me prove myself. And we were able to start again.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
But this was in our sort of late 30s, early 40s. So, we were still energetic and still, we were happy to take risks and try to build a life again. But when we got to 60s and 70s and late 60s and 70s, the toll of the business that we were in was actually quite daunting, and it was taking its toll. So we decided to sell, and the sale fell through just after it was too late for us to order in stock for the following year. So we shut the company down. Mm-hmm. And now you're late 60s and you're 70, and now where do you go? What do you do now? It's a very different situation being older than when it was when you were younger.
Sure.
So I looked around and I saw there are a lot of seniors who are actually in exactly the same position as us, not with businesses, but they've reached this age of retirement where they'd lost their relevance. Their whole life had been encompassed by what they did, not who they were. And so when they stopped doing what they did, they suddenly lost their zing. There's loneliness, there's financial insecurity, there's no relevance anymore, and they were slowly slipping down into depression. Now, it's not everybody, and it's not all seniors, because some go into wonderful retirement villages and are very busy and enjoying their time there, and are babysitting a lot probably. But there are a lot who aren't, who are desperately lonely, and especially in the situation that we're in at the moment, where there's a lot of staying at home, it's even worse. And I thought, I sat down and I thought, I feel very unsettled because I just don't know where my space is. And I'm sure if I felt that way, there would be other seniors out there who also felt that way. In the process of having a family and running a business, I'd lost my creative me as well. You sort of forfeit that for the family. And I looked at seniors and I asked around and I spoke to them and I thought, they don't know how to go and find their purpose. And what can I do to help that? Because, sort of later on in your years too, you sort of like have this philanthropic need as well too, to go and help people, help them get out of this, know that we can all bloom late, and we can do this. So be careful what you wish for. But I wanted to stand on a stage and tell everybody we can do this. We've still got life, let's still make our lives matter. And so I thought, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to work out how to do this. And that's how the whole journey started.
That's fantastic. I commend you for that. And so did you tell us a little bit more, about the book itself and the process, and did you interview seniors, or was it just more your observation? Tell us more about that.
Well, probably going back to very early days. When I was young, I had a year when all kinds of things happened. I had tonsils removed and appendix removed and put my finger in a plug and flew across a room and had encephalitis, and it just was a bad year. And I had a father who was a surgeon. But I had a year off school, and with that year of school, all I did was read. And I read and read and read and read. And, isn't it funny that the skills that you learn so early, you don't know whether you're learning those skills for any reason until you get to this stage and you think, I love words. I love to write. I love, this is what I really love to do. When I sit and I write, I really love to do it. So that's where the spark came. I'd found my North Star. I was there. That's what I wanted to do. What I did, though, is I spoke to seniors along the way, and I found that we were all in the same boat. So, but people sometimes don't express it. People are proud. They don't like to say we are struggling. They don't like to say we are lonely. Probably our generation is more like that. So what I did is I incorporated this book that not only shows very funny situations that all seniors, I'm sure, have been in, like separate bedrooms syndrome and husband snoring and ouch, things after 70, everything is ouch,
right.
and stuff like that. But then also practical measures and very thought-provoking situations, like, have we done all we can do in this life? Where do we go when we die? People don't talk about that. They're nervous to talk about it. But, just to get people's different opinions and getting all this fodder in and everything that was in my brain, related to all the experience that you have. When you're a senior, you have experience, you have wisdom, you should have humility, you have self-knowledge, you have creativity, and to express that. And what I found from my readers is that they've come back and they said, I just hear you. I hear exactly what you're saying. This is what I'm going through. I mean, some readers say, oh, it's just, it can be silly fluff sometimes, but it is silly fluff. Now we're brave enough to say some of it is silly fluff and some of it is very thought-provoking. So I started to learn how to write and publish.
Yeah, well, obviously you've done a great job.
Thank you, Frank.
So I mean, did any what's come aside from people loving your book? We'll learn how people can get your book in a moment. But did anything come of that? Especially your background in the entertainment field and all of that. Are you thinking?
Well,
what's kind of next step? What's next?
Funny that you say that. I wrote a song. It's called Slow Down. Now, because we're sort of still stuck inside, how do you get it back into? I play the guitar. So I sang it with the guitar. And, when I was singing it to people, they're saying, we really like that song. You're a little bit insecure when you're older because you haven't used that voice muscle for a while. So what I did is I got onto a website and I spoke to, I've got a musician in the UK, and he said, you know what, I'll get a backing track and then we'll put down the voice track and then we can put that on YouTube and we can, you see, this is all the learning curve for seniors. All these strange things, people say, oh, you need to go and find your purpose. Well, how do you find your purpose? Some people say, well, how do I find my purpose? I'm so depressed. I don't know what my purpose is. But it's all about curiosity, I believe. And it's just taking that one step on the ladder. You don't have to be good at it. You've just got to give it a go. And that's what I did. I've now got a second book that will be coming out in 3 months' time, which is called, I'm now called A Senior Stories from the Heart. Wonderful. And that's going to be laughing, thriving, and mastering the challenges of a changing world, which we're all doing at the moment. But,
right.
If we don't see the humor in some of the stuff, what are we going to do? We're going to get very depressed.
Yeah, humor and laughter is just so important. So what a wonderful story. We're going to take a real quick break. All right, I promise, just 30 seconds, just to recognize our sponsor. When we come back, certainly we'll learn how people can get your book, but maybe you'll be able to give some tips or advice, to seniors, especially those that are maybe feeling isolated. That isolation is a problem regardless, what's going on in our world with viruses and all that. Isolation is a problem. So I'd love you to talk a little bit about that when we come back. Okay.
Fabulous.
All right, great. So I want to remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority. an elder care consulting organization and that has a national network of professionally trained and experienced local advisors to assist families in determining the right path for your loved ones. They'll discuss various long-term care options, whether it's in-home care, assisted living, memory care, or you just need an advocate to get some advice from. A local Senior Care Authority advisor can help you now. So for a free 30-minute consultation with an advisor right in your area, contact Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you could go directly to the website at www.seniorcareauthority.com, and you can find a local advisor in your area. We're back with Julie Sursok, who's the author of a best-selling book, I'm Now Called a Senior WTF. So, Julie, thanks again for being on the show, and wonderful information. So maybe we could just start out by you sharing whatever information you would like, how people could learn more about what you're doing or your book, or go ahead, and it's commercial time. Go ahead and tell them.
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, it's on Amazon, the big A. So you can get it on Amazon. I'm Now Called a Senior WTF. I have a website, www.imnowcalledasenior.com. I have an Instagram page, I'm Now Called a Senior, a Facebook page, I'm Now Called a Senior, with a support group, which is a group that is separate to support each other. And you don't have to be a senior, obviously, to be part of that. And then any of the, Barnes & Noble online, Booktopia, Dimox, Walmart has it too. This is obviously for the US. So it's in all countries as well. So it's widely available. And if you want to have a good laugh and get some senior tips moving forward, there it is.
Great. So speaking about tips, I know there's a lot in your book, but and on your website, but I'm going to ask you for maybe some tips and advice that you maybe have for seniors or even their adult children, some input, especially if you could, certainly talk about isolation and dealing with that. Can you give us your thoughts?
It's very important to maintain a community. And that is a community of friendships or a community of family, or just to keep in touch and try and make new friends. And, you can make new friends even online. I've made an enormous number of friends in the author world. You join groups and then you go and the one thing that's important is that seniors need to keep up with technology, because we're so used to the old world and there's now this new world, and we have one foot in both, and it's exhausting because
Right.
You know how to communicate in the old way, which is face-to-face and conversations, and now it's very tech orientated, which is moving so fast. You don't need to know it all, but I believe you need to understand technology, otherwise you won't be able to communicate moving forward. I think, developing a routine is a very important thing within this isolation and within this household environment. Otherwise, you're a bit lost. Just know that you'll get up, you'll drink your lemon water, and you'll do your exercise, and then chunk out some time to do the things that you love. Now, it might be, for some seniors, knitting or gardening or stuff like that, or it could be learning a new language, or it could be doing a history course, or it could be writing a book, or singing, or anything. There's no judgment. That's the freedom of getting older. There's no judgment. We should just be really happy in our own space, and there are things like mapping out your money. Be careful of your finances. We used to all eat the whole fruit salad. Now you might only be eating the banana, just work.
It's interesting, in talking about that. I don't know, my wife and I were watching something on TV, and somebody was playing the harp, which is a beautiful instrument.
Beautiful.
And,
yes.
and my wife always liked the harp, and she goes, God, I love that instrument. I said, why don't you learn it? Why, it's never too late.
Never.
It's never too late, and it's good for the brain, isn't it? Just to
keep
it
so
sharp.
good.
Yeah.
It's very important, the brain, do Lumosity, do crosswords, do Sudoku, do all those things just to keep your brain moving. It's just a muscle. So you've got to do that and keep moving,
Yeah.
exercise,
Right.
all those
Yeah.
things, and
Exactly. Just do the things. Something you said you play the guitar. I
I
mean,
do. And
that's
the
something
piano.
and the piano. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something that I've always wanted to do is learn how to play the guitar. I'm going to too. I'm going to do it.
Oh, do it. It's such a peaceful companion.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
even if you're a little bit of out of sorts, pick it up and just play and sing. I sing Adele. you know.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Love Adele. So, what about the younger generation? Any lessons uh, you can
With
give, or see
regards,
you feel seniors can give to the younger generation?
I think the younger generation, I think they're marvelous. I think they've really stood up in the situation we're in, and they've really got to be proud of that. I think that they're living in a world of speed. And if they could look at life from this side, how they just got to realize it's okay to just detox from all of this for a while, take a breath and have some fun without being connected all the time, and just slow down and to really listen to their older generation. We have stories to tell. I'm sad that I didn't sit more with my parents to hear their stories, because once they're gone, sometimes the stories are gone,
Right.
and it needs to go on for perpetuity. Just listen, because you can learn. We have experienced different experiences, and I think seniors should also listen to the younger generation, because they've got lessons to teach us as well.
Right.
So that
Right.
that would we don't want to be looked after or cared for, I don't think, but we cared for in that we don't want you to physically come and put us in your homes, really, unless we really, really need it. We're all very independent, but we just need to know that you're there and that you care, and check in
Right.
on your family.
Right. What I'm also hearing from you, and we had a time to chat even before we started the interview. We chatted a little bit, and it's just there's a lot of people that when they have become a quote senior, it gets depressing. I can't,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing from you, which I agree with you, is that you become a senior, you should be proud,
Oh my goodness,
and I look at it and go, when people say their age, can you believe I'm, 70 or whatever the number, is, and going, God, I've outlived a lot of people, so I'm pretty proud of that, you
you
know.
know, in the past, getting older was something to fear, but now I think it's something to aspire to. You
Yeah.
are definitely more free. You are definitely less fearful. I think that you do need to believe in some, this is for me, but of course it's different for everybody, some sort of greater being, because like otherwise, why are we here? Sort of thing. It's obviously different for everybody, but that's the course that I have, and I think we can still change the world being older, and we do it with less fear. We might be more creaky, and we might be slower, and we might not be. Our acuity might not be as good as it used to be, but we can still do this. And despite all of that, we need to be brave and strong, and know that the end of life is just really the beginning. We can start again.
Yeah. Have you? I just happened to think of this. It was kind of more related to what you brought up a few minutes ago, but the technology side of things and learning technology and all of that. If you've had people reach out to you and say, "Well, God, I do want to learn. Where can I go?" And I know there's a lot of options out there, but was there anything that you've ever come across for people to kind of learn more? Or
Yes, they're actually sort of their societies here for older people, where you can actually go and learn step by step the process of how to use Microsoft, or to just go into Apple. You know what I do? I just go into Apple and I say, help. I don't know how to
yeah,
turn the
right.
alarm on. Yeah.
The old
And
thing is
these,
just Google it and you'll get to get it.
yeah, Google is I mean, you just Google and, how do you do this? And
Right.
it always comes up, and then I take a screenshot And then I just go through the points. And, sometimes initially one was fearful that you'd muck the whole thing up and everything would switch off and you would lose everything that you had on there. But when you realize that it can't really happen unless you really do something massive, and then you just take your computer into Apple and you say, or to Microsoft, and you say, help. I go in there and I just look helpless. Right. I put my mask on, in I go, and I say, I don't know how to switch my alarm off.
Right.
And they're very helpful. Yeah.
And
very helpful.
And sometimes right on YouTube, somebody explains it exactly.
Yeah, always. YouTube is amazing. Yes.
So Julie, unfortunately, I could talk to you all day. We have just a couple minutes left, and maybe you could just, give some advice to our listeners. Maybe some of the key challenges that you think seniors have today, and maybe how those can be overcome. I hate to put just a couple minutes on that. That's a big question, but maybe you could give us your thoughts on that.
Yes, I think that we must, as I've said before, we must not be fearful about being seniors. I think sometimes seniors are in physical pain. Physically, they've got knee problems or hip problems or all kinds of problems. And sometimes the concentration seems to be on all of that. And if you can divert your attention to something that is sort of not so personal, and you can look outwards rather than inwards. And number one, I would say, make a list of all the things that you can, of everything in your life that is good, that's bad, that you want to do. And then control the controllables. The things you can't control, just knock off the list, because what can you do about it? You're just worrying. And actually really delve into the things that you would love to do. Go onto YouTube, see what courses are available, speak to other people who have done things that you would love to do. In fact, you're irritated that they've done it and you haven't, because it's not a competitive thing, but they've actually got out and done that. And just go and investigate that and start a course somewhere. Really, learning is very important. Transform yourself, push yourself out of the comfort zone, and keep your mind open to trying new things. Just find that passion, learn all you can, and then make the move. That's the first thing, because I think it takes you out of your personal malaise of feeling irrelevant and feeling lonely. And there are ways of doing this without it being a big financial output as well. So it's to go and research. I think that's important.
Great advice. Julie Sursok, thank you so much for joining us. Check it out. I'm Now Called a Senior WTF. Check it out on Amazon. Julie, thank you so much for joining us on Boomers Today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. And please be safe out there. We'll talk to everybody real soon.
You've been listening to Boomers Today with Frank Sampson. To learn more about today's show, visit boomerstodayradio.com and join us next time for another edition of Boomers Today.